Hello everybody, here we are today and we are finishing up our season previews today as we are talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get into it. So the Toronto Maple Leafs were a team, or are a team that has been relatively good over the past 7 years, and ultimately they were able to get the job done in the first round and get that monkey off the franchise's back to make it to the second round, where they ended up getting beat by the Florida Panthers. It was pretty heartbreaking. Kyle Dubas isn't there, and enter a whole busy off season. So with all that stuff being said, what are some storylines for this season? The first one is, can this be a career year for Tyler Bertuzzi? Bertuzzi is a player that has played for only original 6 teams: Detroit Red Wings, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs. I guess he just likes it, the history of it all. And for Bertuzzi, he's been a player that maybe hasn't been a game changer in the sense of an Austin Matthews, but has been a guy that's been able to get results in the league, played over 300 games in the NHL, has had some decent seasons. His best season came in the 2021-22 season. I think he averaged almost a point per game there, 60 points, 62 points in 68 games played, multiple 20-plus goal seasons, and he is looking to possibly have a great year as a rental, I guess if you want to call it that, for the Maple Leafs. Signed a 1-year deal after being with the Boston Bruins, after he was traded over from the Red Wings to play for them. They lost in the first round. Now he is in Toronto. Gets to play Boston this year and Detroit. That's going to be really fun. But the point is, can he have a year that is seen as a best season for him? I think yes. He is going to be playing on the top line, supposedly, with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. With a guy like Bertuzzi, he's going to be replacing Michael Bunting. They are able to basically fill the void there in terms of goals. And the great thing about Bertuzzi is he takes a lot less penalties than Bunting. Now, Bunting might be able to fix that a little bit, but last year, according to Natural Stat Trick, Bunting had 39 penalties, Bertuzzi had 9. I'm hoping that I didn't read that wrong, but I think I read that correctly. Yes, they both have had some misconduct penalties, but in general, you're thinking Bunting had some bad penalties. You go in and get Bertuzzi, who can fill the void probably offensively and then take less penalty minutes, so you're on the PK list. That's good news there. And again, this is the best talent that he's ever got to play with up to this point in his career. Had some good guys in Detroit that he got to play with. Obviously got to play a decent amount of minutes with Marchand in Boston, but they only played 20-some regular season games together, had a short stint in the playoffs. Now you're looking at a full season, hypothetically, with Marner, with Matthews, 2 guys that have taken the league over by storm. Matthews being a video game cover type athlete, and then Marner being the setup man with Bertuzzi. I think we could see a career year for goals. Maybe, maybe not, but I do think the assist numbers will be up there a lot. And the good thing about all this is he is on that 1-year deal. So if things don't work out, it's not the end of the world. But for Bertuzzi, he could really be looking at this and saying, if I have a really good year on this top line for the Maple Leafs, I could go out there and say I'm still a relatively young guy that is set to be a restricted or unrestricted free agent, actually. Who wants to pay me? Is it Toronto? Is it somebody else? We will see. But in my opinion, I do think Bertuzzi could have a season that gets him a nice payday after this season. The second talking point is, can Brad Treliving end up helping this team? Now, I'm just going to call him Brad from here on out because I've heard 2 different pronunciations for his name from 2 pretty good sources. So we're going to call him Brad from right now. And his tenure with the Flames had some mixed results. 5 playoff appearances, 2 division titles, 2 second-round appearances, and there were some good points. There was also some really bad points where they were not able to get the job done when they had some really, really good years, especially in the second round. They ran into some trouble. They had that really good year where the Avalanche ended up upsetting them. I believe in the first round that season, the Avs were on their way up. The Flames had a really good season again, but we didn't know how good the Avs were just yet. And still, Treliving obviously is a guy that has been there for nearly a decade with the team. He had some good moments, but he also had some bad moments. I think the thing with him is he was never afraid to make some big moves. Not a bad thing when you're going into a market where you really cannot afford to be afraid. He is in a spot right now where he has got a really good roster and is also in a situation where he doesn't necessarily have to make a lot of crazy moves. I like some of the decisions his front office is made in terms of these 1-year deals, because if they don't work out, it's good. They can move on from them. But if they do work out, you're looking at on ice success. So with Brad, we're looking at this as hopefully a second stint, a rebirth, if you will, to make less mistakes than he did in Calgary and hopefully see more playoff success than what he saw with the Flames. I will say towards the end of his stint in Calgary, we saw him make some moves that were really, I don't want to say to save his own skin, but they were set up to hopefully keep things moving along and see a playoff appearance and go from there. That didn't work, and especially with the Huberdeau contract, you're looking at it and saying, man, somebody else is going to have to deal with it. The organization is going to have to deal with it for the foreseeable future, and if things play out the way they do, he's going to be overpaid after a really good year with the Panthers, and things started to fall apart with the Flames. With that, though, I will say this: avoid big bad contracts with this team, and you're probably going to be all right. But with the pressure that this team and this market has set up, will he try to do something to save his own skin? That kind of remains to be seen. And also, I did want to add, with this stint, you know that this is a team that's been really good in recent years. Brad is going to be in a tough spot where Kyle, while there were some mixed results, they were a really good regular season team that was able to win around last season. They are somebody that he's going to be, or Kyle is somebody that he's going to be compared to, as Dubas is now in Pittsburgh. They got Carlson. So look for these teams to be compared. Maybe Toronto has a better regular season, but if Pittsburgh makes it in the playoffs and goes farther, you know how it is with the Toronto media, you know how it is with the Toronto fans. They are going to say we should have kept Kyle instead of bringing in Brad. So is he going to help? I guess we will see over the course of the season. Will he make any moves, come deadline time? That also remains to be seen. The final talking point is, what are the team's expectations? This is a team that has been a great side, good to great side in recent memory, really for the past 5+ years. The past 3 seasons, had it not been for the Bruins last season and the season before that, the Panthers, you're looking at 3 straight division titles for the Maple Leafs, a really, really dominant side in recent memory that has not been able to find playoff success, and that's really what they need to find. I look at this from the perspective of a Toronto fan base, and they could care less if you make the playoffs, if you win the division, if you win the President's Trophy, if you win in the first round, win in the second round, win in the conference final. It really doesn't matter, because they want the Stanley Cup. It's been nearing 60 years, it's almost 60 seasons since this drought, this title drought, and Toronto fans could care less how they get there. They could be the last team to make it in, and as long as they're a wild card and they have a chance and they march on to the Stanley Cup final, the fans are going to be ecstatic winning the Cup. Again, you could have a really, really good year. You could have a Boston Bruins type season. You make it to the final and still lose, while they'll be relatively happy that they were almost there, it still means nothing compared to winning the Cup, and this is a Cup-hungry fan base. This is one of those deals where maybe it's not fair because you are playing in such a tough market, a big market, but so is life for people that work for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we will see what happens for this team. Expectations clearly high, though, given what they've done in recent memory. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs? They are probably the favorite to win their division, and if I had to pick, I would say they are the favorite to win their division. They've got the star power, and they have got the potential to be really good come playoff time. Again, it really just comes down to the playoffs. All this stuff is meaningless if you lose in the first or second round or even conference final. This is all about getting to the final round and hoisting Lord Stanley. I also want to say that this is important too, because some of the Big Four, the core fours contracts are expiring, not this season, but next season. While they could get some extensions done, you want to be able to have as many chances as possible to win the Stanley Cup, and right here could be a good year. There are some changes on the roster that's going to happen every single year, but I don't necessarily look at this team and say that they are going to finish outside of the top 3. Again, I do feel like they're probably going to win their division, if not be right up there towards the top. Are there questions about goaltending? I feel like there probably always are. Is there questions about Keefe and his future? Yes, even though he signed the extension, we are going to see what this Toronto team's made of, not necessarily over the course of the season, but more so come time of April, May, June. This is where we see what this team is going to do, and I'm hoping that they can go on a deep run, if not for NHL ratings, but maybe just to get this thing over with for their fan base. because there were some tough years and they have supported this side. So you would like to reward them at some point, unless you are an extreme sadist, which I know a lot of you people are because you're not a huge fan of the Leafs. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs going into this season? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. I did want to say I'm going to be taking about a week-long break before the season starts. I have pumped out videos consistently all year, and I think just getting through all the season previews and some of these weeks where I've been working 6 days a week, I am ready to just kind of take a break, maybe watch some more preseason games and enjoy life a little bit. But yeah, I'll be gone a week and then I'll be back. So anyway, everybody, please make sure to stay safe. Have a great night, and you go love hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.